So today we are going to factor trinomials in the form of x squared plus bx plus c. So in chapter 7 we did the multiplication. So we took two binomials like x plus 2 and x plus 5 and multiplied them together. And so we did that work. There are two different methods for doing this. One of them is just a guess and check method. And we're not going to do the guess and check method. We're going to go to an actual method where we're thinking about what's going on and how we're going to get there. And so we're going to go backwards with this. So we're going to factor trinomials today. So we're going to go from x squared plus 7x plus 10 to x plus 2 times x plus 5. Multiplying those two quantities together. So here we have x plus 3 times x plus 4. So when we multiply these, notice a couple of things, right? So we've got some color going on here to help us with this. So when we multiply x times x, we get x squared. So we use the red line for that. Then we had to multiply x times 4 and 3 times x. So those are in blue. So we got a 3x and a 4x, which gives us 7x. And then 3 times 4 is 12. So what happens is when we go backwards, we have the factors of 12, okay, that when I add those two together, I get this number here, 7. Okay. So we're going to be thinking about these as the factors of the constant, that when I add them together, I get the coefficient of x. All right. So we have our constant is c, the coefficient of x is b. So we're going to be looking at the factors of b that when I add them, I get c. So which is exactly what we did here then for numbers 1 and 2. Okay? Factors of one number that add up to another number. And so we can actually make a table to do this, and we're going to set this table up so that it'll help us with this factoring. Right? So to factor quadratic trinomial form x squared plus bx plus c, we want to find the factors of c whose sum is b. So I'm going to make a little t-chart, and for all these we're going to do, and to help us to do this. So we're going to write the factors of that number, find the sum of them, and see which ones actually work. Right? So here we have x squared plus 9x plus 18. So we want the factors of 18. All right? So 1 and 18, 2 and 9, 3 and 6. Okay? So if we find the sum of each of them, 19, 11, and 9, we can see that only one of them gives us a sum of 9, which is the value of b. And so then we write it in a set of parentheses, x plus 3 times x plus 6. Okay, so first of all, we're going to look at this factoring when c is a positive number. Okay. So when c is a positive number, two things happen. So one is our signs that go in the parentheses are always going to be the same. They're always going to be the same as b. So if b is positive, then both of the signs that are going to go in our parentheses are going to be positive. If b is negative, then they're both going to be negative. Right? So the nicest thing is when c is positive is we know that our signs are going to be the same. Okay? Either positive or negative. Right? So we got an easy one to start with. X squared plus 6x plus 5. So I'm going to use this little chart for a little while for today for all the ones we're going to do. Now, are you going to always need them? No, you're not. Right? Because once you get the feel of it and the pattern of it, you should be able to do it pretty easily. All right, so to start with, I'm going to put out my two sets of parentheses. And whatever letter we're using here that's squared, that's always going to go in the first spot. Right? So we have x squared. So to get x squared, I have to multiply x times x. Now, to get the other two things that go in them, the other things that go in this parenthesis, is factors of 5 that, so we want to know, for this one, we want to know the factors of 5, and we want to find a sum that equals 6. All right, so what are the factors of 5? Okay, 1 and 5, right? 1 and 5. All right, well, what is the sum of 1 and 5? 1 plus 5 equals 6, all right? Great, so that was the easy one. X plus 1 and x plus 5. There we go, there's our answer. All right, and then we could multiply it to check. Right? We're not going to, but we can. All right, so let's look at the next one. X squared plus 6x plus 9. So I'm going to put my sets of parentheses here. In those first sets of parentheses, we're going to put an x. All right, so we need the factors of 9. Okay, 3 and 3, and 1 and 9. All right, so then we're going to find the sum of them. 3 plus 3 is 6. 1 plus 9 is 10. All right, so what sum am I looking for? Okay, all right. I want to know what is the sum of 6. So this is the one I want. So my numbers are going to go in the parentheses then are going to be plus 3 and plus 3. All right, so we want the factors of the constant, which is c, that add up to the coefficient of x, which is b. All right. Factors of c that add up to b. All right. Letter C down here then. Now, if b is negative, okay, that means that our factors are going to be negative. All right? So b is negative, the factors are negative. That's only when c is positive, though. Okay? All right? We'll talk about when c is a negative number in a minute. But when c is positive, if b is negative, then our factors are negative. Okay? So we need the factors of 15. Okay? Negative 1 and negative 15, right? What are the other factors of 15? Okay, negative 3 and negative 5. So these problems are going to be a test of your multiplication skills, all right, finding factors. But I'm going to show you something you can do if you struggle with this, okay? So I add these numbers together. Negative 1 plus negative 15 is negative 16. Negative 3 plus negative 5 is negative 8. All right, which one's the one I'm looking for? Okay, the negative 8's the one I want. So negative 3 and negative 5. So x minus 3 and x minus 5. All right, now, how many of you struggle with your multiplication at times? Okay, so here's what you can do. When you have your calculator, you can go to your calculator and go to your y equals. And let's say our number was 15 in this case we just worked with. So I can do 15 divided by x in my y equals. So when I go to my table, it gives you factors then. Go up here. Okay. So it tells me 1 times 15 is 15, 2 times 7.5 is 15, 3 times 5 is 15, 4 times 3.75. So you can actually use your calculator to find the factors. Okay, so if you struggle with that, all you have to do is whatever you're finding the factors of, you do that number divided by x. Easy way to find factors. Okay. All right, so we find the factors of C that add up to B, all right, and then we put them in a parentheses. So you put your two sets of parentheses, whatever variable we're using here, whether it's X or B or G or whatever, goes in the first two spots, all right, and those factors that you find that add up to that sum go in the second spot in each set of parentheses. All right. Okay, so I'm just going to show you example 4. Example 4 is just a way to show that you factored correctly. Okay? And so a polynomial and the factored form of the polynomial are equivalent expressions. So when you evaluate these two expressions for the same value, then you should get the same results. All right? So here we have y squared plus 10y plus 21. Y squared plus 10y plus 21. So what we're going to do is we're going to factor it. Well, they already did, right? Well, let's look at it anyway. Okay, we factor this. So we want the factors of 21 that add up to 10. All right? So what are the factors of 21 that add up to 10?
3 and 7.
Okay, all right. So 1 and 21 gives me 22. And 3 and 7 are the only other ones. And when I add them, I get 10. Okay, so 3 and 7. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a table and show that y squared plus 10y plus 21 is equal to y plus 7 times y plus 3. All right? And we're going to do this just by putting numbers in for y and then making sure we get the same answer. So we'll put 0 in. Right? We'll put 0 in for y. All right? So 0 squared plus 10 times 0 plus 21 is 21.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And then we'll put 0 in here. Right? So we get 7 times 3, which is 21. So what should happen when you're done is that your answer here and your answer there should be the same. Okay? If they're not, then you made a mistake. All right? So all we're doing is checking to see if we did it right. All right? This is a method of doing it. All right? So we'll do 1. All right? So we get 1 squared plus 10 times 1 plus 21 is 32. All right? Because we get 1 plus 10 plus 21. Okay? So then we'll put 1 in the factored form. 1 plus 7 is 8. 1 plus 3 is 4. And 8 times 4 is 32. Okay? So then we'll do it with 2. Two squared is 4. 10 times 2 is 20. So that'd be 24. Plus 21 is 45. Okay, so we'll put 2 in here. 2 plus 7 is 9. 2 plus 3 is 5. So 9 times 5 is 45. Right? So when you get to the ones that are like example 4, all we're doing is you're going to make a table like this, check the numbers 0 through 4, right? Or whatever numbers they tell you to use, and you're just going to plug them in. Right? And you're just checking to make sure that the ones in this column are the same as the answers in that column. All right? If they are, then you've done it correctly. Okay? So I want to show you how you can use your calculator to check your answers. Okay? So here's the last thing. All right? So let's take one of our problems here, one of the last ones we did. All right? We'll just use this one right here. X squared minus 3x minus 18. All right? Go to your y equals. Go to your y equals. Put in your y equals x squared minus 3x minus 18. Put that in y1. Okay, now, when we factored it, we got x minus 6 and x plus 3. Put that in y2. All right, so the original in y1, your factored form in y2. So here's how you can check it then. Now go to your table. All right, go to the table, second graph. And your y1 and y2 should be the same. If they're the same, you did it correctly. If they're different, then you made a mistake. Okay, so you can use your calculator to check them just by putting your original in y1, your factored form in y2. You get the same answer in your table, you're good. If you didn't, then you have to figure out what mistake you made. Okay?